All right, how's it going, everybody? I am super excited to have on Jason Darwent. He's a great family friend of ours, and he has really helped out his family in a lot of different ways. He came from a humble beginning, and it's just really cool to see where he's at in his life right now. He's really using his W-2 job to really make a difference and plan for retirement, and he's having fun while doing it. Jason, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Just where you started, where you're at, where you want to go.
Yeah, like I said, my name is Jason Darwent. Grew up in Southern California, born and raised down there, and started this property endeavor a few years ago. I was working a W-2 job. I'm still working a W-2 job. Really love my job. Very passionate about it. But I work a lot of overtime, and I was looking at a way to be home more with my family. I've got two kids now, and they're 3 and 9 months, and that's been a lot of my driving force. I want to be home with my family and not be at work all the time. And so I was looking at other ways to have supplemental income, and I looked at properties, local and out of state, and then I came. One of my coworkers told me about short-term rentals, and I wasn't too big on the idea until I just started doing more research on it. And once I did more research, I was hooked. I started looking local in Southern California, San Diego area. I looked Big Bear, La Quinta, that whole area, and wasn't happy with what I saw because I also want to take my family out somewhere. And then I started listening to Bigger Pockets podcast, and from there, short-term show. They generate mostly in short-term rentals, and I was hooked. They always talked about Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and I started looking at the Realtor.com, Zillow, and looking at Airbnb and all the other platforms, and I was hooked. I was like, I want one of these, so I went out, convinced my wife. Took a little time, and she's on
Yeah.
board now, and she's hooked. We both love it, and so we went out and we actually put in an offer for our first cabin without ever being out here. We just knew the area. I talked to my family, my parents. They visit out here so often, and they said they loved it. And I knew very little about it, but we were jumping in. We went off the high dive and we just jumped in and went for it. And I'm so thankful that we did.
That was awesome. The thing I like about you, Jason, is you're not a huge emotional guy. Anytime you make a decision, you're going to ask people to understand what it is. You're not going to just put money away without doing your research. When you were doing your research on the different markets, what was that influence? Was it the cash flow? Was it the price point? Can you kind of just maybe dive in on what got you guys to Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge area?
So in what we were looking, I was pre-approved for so much, and I was comfortable investing much less. And so I was looking at all the different markets, and I came across Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg, and I found some cabins that were in my price range, a little bit above what I originally felt comfortable spending. But once we were doing the analysis and seeing how much these cabins were renting for per night, their occupancy rate, and not only that, it's a year-round destination. There's a little slow time throughout the year, a month here, a month there, but for the most part, it's rented 365 days a year, or can be. And that was a big push for me. Another big push was this will be a destination that me and my family could come out and spend a week or 2 weeks or a month out here and be comfortable and see all the sights and do all the things that we like doing. We're big outdoors people. And there's a lot of hiking, a lot of whitewater rafting, fishing, lakes, rivers, streams, hiking, everything you could think of. There's a lot of wildlife out here too. And I love going out on a hike and having my son, see the wildlife. I mean, in fact, where we have our cabin right now, we have a family of little black bears. They came up to the cabin this morning, and we have it on our Nest camera. And my son's always like, "When are we going to see the black bears? When are we going to see, Mama Bear and her two cubs?" And he's very animated, very, very enthusiastic about it. And that's what I want to grow that's how I want to raise my family.
That's what life's about, man. It's so cool. I'm sure it took time to convince your family, and you're not going to be the guy that's going to say, "I told you so,"
No.
Because you're still learning through the process too. So I just kind of want to summarize what you were talking about. So the very first thing you did was you budgeted. You took a look at your cash flow right now, right? You have your income, you have your monthly obligations, and then were you thinking how much more can I take on? And then were you also factoring in proposed rent income with that? Like, what was it about the kind of the full idea on, hey, that price point works for us? Like, where did you come to that? Was it talking to a lender? Was it just doing it yourself? The budgeting? What was that?
Sitting down, me and my wife sitting down and just talking about it. This is the
Okay.
monthly payment. This is what we can afford. And then looking at all the Airbnbs in the area, how their nightly rates were, plus their occupancy, and doing the math ourselves. So, hey, if we could generate an income of say $1,000 a month, we're comfortable. If we could do 2,000 a month, that's a home run for us. And so, with our purchase price, that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of $1 million Airbnbs out here, and they're producing a lot of money, but we're not looking for $1 million. We're looking for something that's comfortable within our budget, within our means. And we found it. And we are very happy with the cash flow it's producing. And we're very happy with what we're seeing, the money that's generating.
Yeah, you're not the $1 million yet. I feel like you will
No,
be.
maybe one day.
Yeah. No, you're a doer, dude, and it's awesome. For people just joining in, Jason's a firefighter, and he's using that money and working his butt off, doing overtime, really to invest in Airbnb markets. I love what you were talking about, man. Like, it's so cool to be able to have a place that you can go visit with your family, but also have something too that is building your guys' retirement. And I think COVID, in a weird way, was such a blessing for that. People had the ability to work remote and can go to these different travel destinations, and traveling is everything. So it's so cool. It's actually so cool and special that you're using this to generate income, but also to make awesome memories with your family. I mean, that is just like the ultimate dream. That is the ultimate goal. You're self-managing it out there. What was the kind of, take me through that process where you first interviewing with different property managers to see kind of what that cost would look like? Because I know you're working full time. It's hard to do a little bit of everything. How is it?
Self-managing, once there's a steep learning curve associated with it, but after you learn the tricks of the trade, it kind of writes itself. And so we know that with a cabin, we're out of state. We need a handyman, our handy person, come over here and take care of emergencies. We have our cleaning lady. She comes in, our cabin cleaner comes in, and she takes care of the little things here or there, replacing light bulbs, batteries, and she's the more or less the boots on the ground for me, because she sees all the little things that all the wear and tear that needs to get replaced, and she addresses us. And luckily, she just goes ahead and takes care of it out of what we pay her. Anything on top of what we have in contract with, then she sends us an invoice, and we pay it at the end of the month. It's very, very easy. But we got very, very lucky with her. We bought the cabin from the previous owner, was doing it on was doing a short-term rental. And so the cabin cleaner was already here, and we decided to chat with her, with Carrie Ann, and say, this is our expectations. This is what we want to see. It may be different than what the previous owner, Diane, wanted to do, but these are what we'd like to see. And we're building it up, because we remodeled the entire cabin. And so we're building it up a little bit better. So our expectations are a little bit different, and we set the ground rules there. And we've been on the same page. It's been great ever since. And so same thing with the handyman. We have a few other things that need, like, things that I don't want to touch on are electrical, and certain things that I think you need a license for. And it has a lot of liability that I don't really want to touch with and mess with, because I'm not good at that. And so I have the professionals take care of it. And so whenever we have something that comes up, he's a phone call away, and he'll come to the cabin. He lives fairly close. He'll take care of it. And like I said, send me an invoice, and I know his rates, and he knows what to expect.
So the cleaner that you guys that was kind of grandfathered in. So that cleaner already knew the home, knew the specifics. You got that contact info from the previous owner. You guys meshed. You came to terms. You knew what you wanted. She already knew the cabin. Is that kind of how it started for you guys?
Exactly. That's exactly.
Nice.
It was great. I mean, she like I said, she knew the layout. She knew what to expect. She knew the biggest variable, and the biggest variable is the customers coming in.
Yes.
Some
Great.
some have higher standards. We're very lucky. A lot of our customers and a lot of our guests, they take care of the cabin like it's their own, and they leave it very clean. Every so often, we're not so lucky. It's part of it, and she knows how to take care of those clients. She knows what needs to be cleaned, what needs to be replaced, and how to clean certain things. It's great. She's been phenomenal. She's been great for us.
That's huge. So you're able to save, anywhere from 20 to 40% overhead with a property manager. I mean, gosh, that's close to probably $500 a month that you guys are saving by having a really good person that you got to pay well, right? They're taking care of it, but you're still saving a lot of money being able to manage it on your own. How are you guys budgeting, and what are different ways that maybe you can save on investing into your first Airbnb or short-term rental?
So when you're doing your first rental, keep in mind the products that you put in here are going to get used. They are going to sometimes go missing. Whether it's the linens, the cups, everything gets used, just like at your normal house. And so what we do is we look at Walmart, we look at Target, we look at Amazon. We look for some decent quality, not top shelf, but some good quality stuff that's going to last a lot of use. And that's what we're putting into our cabin. And we're not putting the best of the best because, like I said, it's going to get used and it's going to go missing. And so, in fact, that's where my wife is right now. She's out at Walmart and Target and even Costco looking, buying me the purchases for the second cabin that we're remodeling right now. And that's where we're saving a lot of the money. And Amazon works great. You have to look at the reviews. My wife does a great job. She's kind of in charge of a lot of that. She looks at the reviews and she looks at what will last, what won't last, and what is a good fit for the cabin. Like I said, you're not buying the best of the best unless you have one of those $1 million mansions. And we're an everyday people. So we just want every day, we're going to make it very comfortable and luxurious for our standards. But that's what we're looking for. That's what we're doing.
Going back to just kind of analyzing the market, if it's okay, if we can just touch on that. So you mentioned the $1 million, right? And that's going to be a different clientele. That's probably going to be more people that are at that specific home. In my small analysis, I've actually noticed that there have been better bookings on smaller cabins, kind of like yours, because it's more of like a couples retreat. And then obviously if you're going to be having, a bigger house, you're going to be paying more for that. Have you looked into that? I mean, is the long-term play maybe the luxurious smaller homes, or what are you kind of seeing with that personally?
Me personally, I'm comfortable with the smaller cabins. There's less parties. And that's one thing that me and my wife, we didn't want to host. We didn't want to have a lot of parties. Of course, Airbnb, they have a policy that you're not allowed to have parties. Doesn't mean that they're going to happen. I mean, people will just go do what they want to do. Yeah. And the chance of somebody throwing a party at a smaller cabin that's meant for a family of 4 or, up to 6 people is much less. And that's where we feel comfortable. And that's where we can get financed. That's our financing. But it's for the smaller cabins. But that's where we feel comfortable, is more the smaller cabins. There's less parties. With the bigger cabins, you can go both ways. Some of the bigger cabins, in fact, there's a cabin right across the street from us. It has 16 bedrooms. And wow, it's for sale right now. It's going for quite a bit. Yeah. You're looking at more the chances of a party are bigger families coming in, and with bigger families, more people, there's more wear and tear on your stuff. There's
Yep.
another train of thought is if you buy one large place, now you're managing one large place instead of say 3, 4, 5 smaller places. Right now, I'm okay managing 1, 3 or 4 or 5 of the smaller cabins because it's what I'm comfortable with and it's what I know. If I had the ability to, there will be another learning curve associated with doing the bigger, higher end cabins. You're hosting more people, and like I said, more things are about to break. There's going to be more parties. There's more liability, and the chances of somebody booking a bigger cabin is less, in my experiences, than just a weekend getaway. Somebody who
Yeah.
wants a couple wants to get away for their honeymoon, or just for a weekend getaway, or just the two of them, our family vacation. And our cabin is perfect for that. It's got a bedroom upstairs. It's got a master bedroom downstairs. It's got a jacuzzi, and it's got a nice common area with a wood burning fireplace. And we have had great reviews and how much the kids love coming down here in May and catching fireflies, or seeing the wildlife during this time of year. We've had great reviews with smaller families or couples.
Do you think as you grow in this space that you would start to go into the bigger cabin space, or would you go just, I guess, bigger price, more luxurious, but still stay in that small niche kind of cabin? Or do you think that will change for you? Where are you at right now, I guess, looking forward?
I'm very comfortable with the smaller cabins right now. It's what I know, and it's what we've been renting out. And our second purchase is a cabin 2 doors down from where we're at right now. It's the same exact floor plan. So that's what I'm comfortable with. Maybe later on in a different market, we would go more higher end. But I'm also looking at a place where my family can go. So as my family grows, we may
True.
need more bedrooms, and we might buy a bigger cabin at that point. But for right now, our needs and for what we feel comfortable doing is the smaller 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, and the occupancy loads are really good. I mean, we're looking at anywhere, depending on the time of year, 60 to 95% occupancy. Over the
That's
course of this last
great.
year, we're looking at 75% occupancy. And for our first year, we are very happy with 75% occupancy.
That's incredible. Great job. Um, Airbnb and Vrbo has become a lot more popular, and that's obviously helped with house appreciation. When you're analyzing different markets, I think a lot of people just think, oh, I'm going to buy here because it's a good vacation spot and I can visit family, or I can bring my family. Can you touch on knowing and understanding the regulations of the area that you're investing in too? Because I don't think a lot of people really take the time to understand that, because that's going to affect your investment, whether there's a cap on the amount of bookings you can do, whether they even allow, for Airbnb or Vrbo, or what maybe the future is for that specific area. I know Tennessee is great because, quite frankly, it's not California. They're very lenient when it comes to taxes. They're very lenient because that area is more of a vacation spot. But can you just maybe touch on, for people, I want people to understand they need to do their research on that. Has there been like a growing pain, or what was your research going in with that stuff?
So my very first year after I was introduced to the short-term markets, there was a lot of phone calls, hours and hours and hours of phone call and research being done. And a lot of areas, for example, San Diego, my understanding is they're going to a lottery system. And you could have a short-term rental in San Diego, especially Mission Beach, and do very well. But getting one and having it approved is a different story. My understanding is here in the future, they're going, like I said, they're going to the lottery system. And so you could buy one hoping that you'll be a short-term rental, but no, your number not get picked. Yeah, I was looking in La Quinta and Indian Wells and those areas. And there's a lot of areas where they only allow Airbnbs or short-term rentals in specific areas. And you wouldn't know that. Your real estate agent not necessarily would know that. If you have a really good real estate agent that knows what you are buying, they'll be able to give you that information. But I had to go out and make those phone calls and look online and find out what pockets of, say, Indian Wells or La Quinta, they're allowing short-term rentals.
Yeah.
If you look at like Honolulu, Hawaii, I believe they just passed an ordinance where all short-term rentals are 90 days or longer, and that wouldn't work for me, you know. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's where you have to do your research. Other areas, other markets, like Tennessee and certain areas, they rely heavily on the Airbnbs and the short-term rentals to bring in guests and revenue. And they've written into their contracts and into their laws that they allow, and that's where their money is going to be coming from, or part of their money is going to be coming from. Other places like Destin, I've heard about. They rely heavily on the Airbnbs and the short-term rentals to bring in money and the guests. So those type of markets, they're going to do very well. Other markets where they don't have a lot of short-term rentals, they might write in laws to ban them, or you could only have them so many. You know, you could only have 50% bookings, or different classifications. You never know. They could completely outlaw short-term rentals in certain areas. So you have to do your research and look in what market, and then start looking for houses in that market that allow short-term rentals.
Thanks for sharing all that. I was talking to someone, and he was saying that he likes to invest in markets that if they did put regulations on a short term, that he could still cash flow or rent it out as a long term. But then I listen to Bigger Pockets, and there's a guy on the show that is very that's what he specializes in. And there's a problem with that, because if they got rid of regulations, that means there's other hotels or other people that are competing with that. That's why you can't, in Disneyland, you can't, I think you have to be like 15 miles or 15 minutes out. You can't be close to Disneyland. But when you got markets like the Smoky Mountains, those are vacation destinations, right? I mean, you're specializing in hospitality. I disagree, with that thought process, because yes, you can make more cash flow as a short-term rental, but sometimes investing in markets that already cater to that is a little bit easier, and you want some regulation, right? I mean, if you don't have any regulation, that's what you got to be worried about, to your point. So I don't know. I don't always agree that if it doesn't work out as a short-term, do your numbers work out as a long-term? Because I can tell you, I don't know if, when hotels are putting their business there, if they're thinking about it's a different business, right? And if you're trying to invest in the Airbnb in short term, do the due diligence of doing your research. But I think it's actually safer to be in an area that's more, catered to the vacation already that's been established.
Yeah, hands down, they rely on this income and the guests, and so it's not going to go away anytime soon. I mean, we were just driving down the Parkway earlier when we went out to breakfast, and it was stop and go traffic. There was the streets were crowded with people going in and out of the stores, and all of those guests. There's not enough hotels for all those guests, so they rely on the cabins.
Yeah.
There's condos that also rent out, but you have to make sure that those condos allow short-term rentals. But all these cabins, they're peppered all throughout the Smokies, and this is where the guests are. Not only that, is when I come out here, and a lot of guests, when they come out here, they have a sense of home when they come into the cabin. It's very
Totally.
They could spread out, they could be loud, they could let the kids run around and play. We have games for the kids, and we have all the sporting channels on our TV for if you want to watch a sporting show or a sporting event. There's everything, and that's what we try to cater for. You don't necessarily get that at a hotel. You get that at an Airbnb.
This ties in really good, and we're almost done. Thanks again for your time, Jason. How are you achieving? So for people that don't know what occupancy rate means, it basically means if you take 30 days of the month, what percentage of those days are being booked? In 75%, that's 3 quarters, 3 weeks out of 4 weeks are being booked. on his place. Can you just touch on, I guess, just like the pictures? Is it games? Is it a jacuzzi? Like what is it? How are you guys getting those numbers? Because those are unreal numbers. Really impressive.
Pictures, 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 pictures. Good quality pictures, everything. My wife is the one who takes care of that and does all that. She's very meticulous when it comes to setting up the bed, setting up the kitchen, setting up the living room with as a show quality, and then taking pictures. One thing that we do is everything that you see in the pictures, we keep at the cabin. If you see the French press with a little board and 2 cups of coffee, and it's on the bed and where it's nicely presented, we have that here at the cabin. And what my wife took care of all of that. She actually took all the photos from her iPhone,
That's
and
great.
she goes through all the filters. She goes through all of that. She's really good at that. I'm not so much. So, like I said, I let the professionals handle that type of stuff, what they're good at, and she's really good at that. And so, whenever we do an upgrade to the cabin, before we leave, she goes through, takes pictures of it, stages the cabin, stages everything. Like I said, with all the stuff that we already have here, and she takes pictures of them, adjusts the lighting, does what she needs to do, and then we put them back on the platform. And that's how I feel we get good bookings is all the photos. From what I've heard is a lot of people when they come to a new area, they're not necessarily looking at where exactly it is located. They want to be close, but they're looking at those photos and they're going to
Yep.
scroll through. Just like whenever I ask my wife to find us an Airbnb if we go somewhere, she's scrolling through the photos, looking for them. It's like, oh, I like this cabin. This is beautiful, and that's where we end up staying. All I do is say, okay, book it.
Pay the bills. Yep.
That's it.
I got you for 3 more minutes. Is there any type of amenities that you're noticing is helping you get more bookings? Like, is it little things like the French press? I know the cabin style. Is it a jacuzzi? Like, is it having board games? Have you noticed that as you've been doing this for over a year now, is there any special amenities for your area that are helping get more bookings?
Yes, and exactly what you said for my area. Every area is going to have a different go-to, something that they want. For my area,
Right.
jacuzzi, it's a hot tub in the outside. We have both our cabins. They have a nice hot tub outside. We when they come here, they want to be in a cabin. They want it to feel like they're in the woods. So everything has that knotty pine look to it, and then knotty pine planking all around. They also want a view, and both of our cabins have really good views. When you come here, you feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, and it's nice and quiet. You could hear just the creatures outside, and it's very, very, very peaceful. The other thing is we have board games. A lot of people people want to watch their sporting events. So we got the premium package, and they could watch whatever shows are on the local TV. We made sure that it was local. So they got and everything, and then they have a premium sporting package. But we have all the basic amenities that you would expect at home. We have here. We have the washer dryer. We have nice pots and pans. We have the French press, and those are the things that we are marketing to our guests, and that's what they expect. So that's what we want to give them.
Thank you. Let me just see if I have any comments. Do you mind just sharing your listing on both the Airbnbs? I can get it from you and I can share it on the platforms, but would that be okay?
Of course,
So people can take a look at that. Okay, awesome.
And we only have one live right now. We're remodeling the second cabin, so we're hopefully have that up and running next week.
Wow, quick turnaround time.
Yeah. But we've got to install some hardwood floors and take care of some other stuff. So it's in the works. But we're hoping to get that second listing up and running here in the next 7 to 10 days. But the first listing, yeah, we'll definitely share on Airbnb and VRBO.
Text it to me and then I'll share it on these platforms. It would be super helpful. You probably already sent it to me, but if it's okay, send it to me again. You touched on something that made me think of this, and this can go tie in with our final thought. when you're doing a renovation, I mean, 2 weeks, that's really quick, right? Are you finding places, especially out of state, that are furnished and kind of move in that it need to take a lot of work? Like, are you looking at that when you're looking in investing into the short-term market?
Kind of, yes. Me personally, I like to put a lot of sweat equity into my projects.
Yeah.
I like to go in there, rehab it, and then make it ours. Make it comfortable for both, for my wife, Ashley, and I. And whether it's a complete renovation or it's some touch-ups here or there. I like to do, whenever I buy a cabin, and that was the other thing is I wanted to mention, was that whenever you buy a cabin, I gutted all the plumbing as much as I can and made everything new, because I know that that's going to pay off preventative. That's going to pay off later on. I'm not going to get a phone call
Yes.
at 2 o'clock in the morning. Hey,
Yep.
the sinks are the plumbing, or there's something wrong here or there. I know because it's all brand new. And then, for example, at this cabin right here, I have to do some preventative maintenance on it, with the pipes, so and a few things here or there. But staying up on that, when you buy a cabin, put new stuff in there, the stuff that commonly go bad, and then every year have a maintenance program. Just stay up on it, and that's gonna give you a lot of longevity for your cabins or your rental.
Man, what you said was so true. It's like sometimes you just put like lipstick on a pig, so you have this like look where it's like, oh man, I like the way it looks. But again, if you're owning and managing something, those other things that are behind, the walls, like you want to have an aesthetically pleasing house. Don't get me wrong. But what you're saying is so smart, and that's such good investing for the long term. Like, hey, we got to invest in the things that are like very serious, right?
Yes.
I mean, you want to have a good house that looks good and looks clean, but you're investing in it, and you can tell you're just a great owner because you understand that stuff. You want it to be a good experience, and having a plumbing issue, man, that's a nightmare for a guest. So that's great that you're thinking about that, not necessarily about the more aesthetic stuff, which is important, but
my wife is good at all of that, but there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah.
Preventative maintenance that goes a long way, because like I said, those phone calls, when you're in the middle of having family dinner, you don't want to take those phone calls. I've had it one time, and it happened during family dinner, and I didn't like it. Of course, it goes along with the business. It goes along with it. You just have to roll off your shoulders and handle it. But all the changes and everything you knew, wherever you are, if you're managing out of state, have a little booklet of, say, the TV remotes, the hot tub controllers. Have your own little book of your cheat sheet, so that when there's a problem, you flip to that page. Okay, this is how you turn it back on. This is how you get to the right settings. This is how you go walk them through the steps of 1 through 5, whatever it is, to turn it back on and get everything running back again. Have the guests troubleshoot a little bit. If it's beyond what you have already written in your rule book, then you have to call a cabin cleaner or the handyman.
And that's great. You have those people on speed dial. Jason, super cool. You got a beautiful house in San Diego, right on a golf course. You got 2 really successful short-term rental properties in Tennessee. I mean, what's next for you? I mean, what does that look like? 5 years, 10 years? I mean, you're crushing, man. I mean, what is that? What is the Jason and the Darwent family look like 5, 10 years from now?
Well, we want to get a few more properties. If I could get 1 a year, I would be very, very, very happy.
You thinking about staying in Tennessee, or what market you looking in now?
We are looking. They're kind of all over the Gulf Coast, Florida, Mississippi, Georgia, pretty much along the Gulf Coast.
Yeah.
There's a few places in the Carolinas that we're interested in, and anywhere that's going to be short-term rental friendly, and that we could get. We want to stay with cabins, and that's what we like. But if we get something close to a lake or close to a river, I think that's going to be our next venture. Our beachfront. We're not quite sure. We're going to have to see what the market is going to give us at that time, and how much we have saved up, and what type of renovations we could do.
There's a lot of stress. I mean, nothing worth having, doesn't come easy, but you could just see on your face, you're so excited, and it's so cool. I mean, you didn't grow up this way. You didn't come, from a family that understood real estate or investing. So great job on you, man. Like doing your research. And I know like it's inspired me. I mean, my wife and I, we bought a house in Big Bear, and I told my wife, I said, they're able to do it, and like, look at what they're doing. So I really appreciate that. Helped me personally. So it's really cool what you're doing, dude. You're an inspiration. I super appreciate your time. When I get off the phone with you, if you could text me your Airbnb link, I'll put that on the platform. And then did you have anything else you wanted to say?
Do your research. It pays out. It does very well as long as you get a successful one and you run the numbers and the numbers work out. It will pay off, and there's a lot of pride that goes along with it.
That's awesome. Hey, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks, Jason, for your time.
Thank you.